Happy New Year from me at ScottsCrazyBuilds. It's been a crazy year, work-wise especially, but obviously with the hobbies, I managed to, get the jet car to a pretty good operational point. Did 120 mile an hour earlier in summer, an unofficial world speed record. Still needs a lot of work, and this is still obviously the current project. But what better way to start off 2023 than by telling you about the next project, the future, which I have in front of me, which I am really, really excited about. So here we go. What we have here is an absolute beast of an engine. This is a shaft power jet engine, shaft power gas turbine, I should say, from a Lynx military helicopter. And this thing is an absolute monster. I mean, as well as being an engineering work of art, I cannot tell you how lucky I actually, to be honest, feel to own this thing. It is insane. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've done so far, a bit about the engine, and what I'm going to do with it. So here goes. So about 6 months ago, I went and bought this with some financial help from the bank of mum and dad. So many thanks to them. And me and my dad went and picked this up. We saw it running and trailered it home, a couple of 100 miles. Managed to get it back here, craned it out of its box, and I built this engine stand of which I can use to run the engine. So that's taken quite a few months, but anyway, let's talk about the capabilities of this engine. So it's from one of the fastest helicopters in the world, which is the Lynx, which I think held the speed record of 400 kilometers an hour for about 40 years. Obviously a Lynx, well, it has two of these in it, but anyway, I'm lucky enough to have one. This thing, it said unserviceable on the box. I'm not exactly sure what the reason for that is. It's definitely no longer airworthy, but that doesn't mean that I can't give it a good second home and put it to use. So, or at least try to. So, in terms of specs of this engine, it can do 1,000 horsepower all day long without breaking a sweat if you can feed it continually with fuel. So that is the continuous rating, 1,000 horse. Now, for 2.5 minutes, the rating jumps up to 1,200 horsepower, and for 20-second transient, it can do 1,550 horsepower. So absolutely monster power, and it weighs about 200 kilograms. It's completely self-contained. It's got its own oil cooling system. It's got its own oil tank. All you need to do is feed it fuel and the relevant electrical signals, and you have a power plant that is just immense. So I'm going to be talking a little bit now about the engine itself, of what I know of it, and sort of giving you a bit of a tour of it. So here we go. Now, this engine was designed, I think, in around, 1960s, and put into service in helicopters from the 70s up until the last sort of 5 years when they were decommissioned. So it is astounding, to be honest, because this engine is from the pre-computer era, pre-CAD. This has been hand designed, hand built. Every part of it has been lovingly made. It is just an absolute work of art. So just to sort of show you what the sort of layout is, this is the air intake for the engine, and this is the shaft of which all the power comes out of. There's an epicyclic gearbox in here, which takes the free power speed down to around 6,000 or 7,000 RPM here. The torques of this are around 1,200 Newton meters continuous, 1,600 Newton meters in transient. So absolutely ideal, being that it's close to a normal sort of tuned race engine in terms of output speed. Obviously, that coming out the front is a bit of an issue transferring to a rear wheel drive, which I have a plan for. But anyway, so, you know, looking at the quality of this thing, it is just mind blowing. The tubing, everything that's been, you know, hand bent to millimeter precision, talking tiny clearances, yeah, cast components everywhere. It's just absolutely beautiful, to be honest. So it's got a 6-bay scavenge pump, oil scavenge internally, which scavenges, you can see a few of them at the bottom here with these sort of small tanks. There are just so many nice details on it. I mean, look at this. Why don't we have this on a modern car, right? Magnetic oil inspection plugs, double O-ring, bayonet, so you can check for any problems with the oil. I mean, why don't we have these on a modern car? There's 6 of those on it, so that you can check the quality and condition of the oil during running. It's got this fuel governor on it, so it's like a mechanical self-governor, which basically protects the engine from over temperature. The actual main control of the engine is done by this lever here. So that's the throttle. And yeah, it'll basically let you rev it up until it starts to see over temperature, at which point this will start to decrease the fuel to the engine automatically. Here is the protective control unit, which is the brains of that. What else have we got here? Yeah, we've got this inbuilt oil cooler and fan. We've got the compressor here, which is a 4-stage axial compressor with a high with a centrifugal compressor then after that, giving it a compression ratio of around 12:1. And it has an inbuilt torque meter as well. I mean, this is just mental technology considering this is 60s, 70s. So yeah, absolutely beautiful. I have managed to buy the original Lynx helicopter gauges from eBay, which I have wired up. And so here we have the oil tank. This is my makeshift fuel tank, pressure regulator. That fuel line is going into the engine, and then we have the wiring. So I've sort of put a considerable amount of effort into trying to build from scratch a basically military spec wiring loom for this. I want to say a massive thanks to Matt and Fran at North Wheeled Aviation, who provided me with the original engine wiring diagrams that I needed. So it took about 3 days to make the wiring loom for this engine. Which I've done, which the main electrical connector is here, and then it's sort of Raychem mil-spec wiring. I've tried to make it long enough for its intended future purpose, so it's about 4 meters long, and then it comes out here with all of the amphenol connections to the gauges. These unbelievably expensive, they're about £50 each, and there's many of them, so that was a little bit of an expensive venture, but worth doing properly. I've obviously got a couple of batteries here which are for starting the engine. Unfortunately, they are dead and I need to buy 2 more, but other than that, adding a bit of fuel in, this is hopefully ready to fire up in the next week or 2. So here, if I turn on the power, gauges come to life. Got my fuel pump power ready to roll, and ignition. You can hear it going. So, and then obviously cranking the engine. So it is not far off firing up. Hopefully that will be my next video. Now you may be wondering, what the hell am I going to do with a Rolls Royce Gem military helicopter engine? To be honest, I can't think of a better thing to have in your garage. I mean, who wouldn't want one of these in their garage? It's just awesome. So the rough plan is that I intend to put this into a car. And when you look at obviously the fact it only weighs 200 kilos and it's well over 1,000 horsepower, I think it's possible to basically build a car sub a ton, maybe 800 kilos, with 1,200 horsepower if you, let's say, which, you know, a Bugatti Veyron has 1,200 horsepower and weighs nearly 2 tons. I could half that weight and basically build a monster. So that's the approximate plan. I need to finish this, which is probably going to take me well over 2 more years. I think to put this into a car, build that car from scratch, it's probably about 2,000 hours in here in the garage, which is my idea of heaven. But yeah, judging by my recent number of hours per week in the garage of about 4, that's probably about 10 years of project. Maybe I can get this into a car and get it running by 2030, I don't know, who knows. It's definitely a long-term project, but it is an exciting one. So Veyron Beta, I'll say that now, we could have a 250 mile an hour, 800 kilo car out of this. That's the idea anyway. So yeah, next video, give it a fire up in the garage. Sure the neighbourhood's gonna love it. So that's it from me. Wish you a happy new year. Cheers for watching. See you in a bit.